And a very good Friday morning, April 21st, 2017. I'm 3 minutes early. Can you believe that?
I can't believe that.
I figured we needed a little extra time
You
today.
think so?
Yes. The sheriff came in here a few minutes ago and just pretty much made not just my day, but my month.
I am not having a good morning. I'll just put it that way.
And it's the most hilarious thing I could ever imagine.
Every Friday morning I come in and say, "Good morning, Tim." No, not today. It's not a good morning.
Oh.
So in case anybody's wondering what's going on, I was at my desk minding my own business, just trying to get ready for today's show and trying to figure out what we're going to do today. And one of my deputies walked in and he said, "Sheriff, we got a problem." I said, "What's the problem that we have?" He said, "Well, I was walking in the building and there was about a 3-foot long black snake out on the concrete sunning.
3 foot?
About 3 feet long." And he said, "I went out there and was trying to get that snake." And he said, "I was going to try to catch it, run it off, kill it, do something." But he said, "That thing took off and it ran straight towards your car and went up in your car." And I said, "You were joking." He said, "No." And the first thing I thought of was Tim Radford last week was aggravating me about snakes, and now he's run a snake up in my car. So I'm wondering if you put that snake out there to run up in my car.
You know, I do have to focus on ratings sometimes.
Thinking that's what it is.
Yeah, this may be a ratings stunt right here.
Well, let me tell you, we went outside. We raised the hood on my car to try to find the snake, and we can't find it. And finally, I get in my car and crank it up and start moving the wheels around and stuff to see if it's under there. And finally, they find it up under the fender well of my car. Mm-hmm. And you know, the new cars, I drive a Charger, and it's got the plastic fender wells, you know, and where they can get behind there, and they can see the snake with its head sticking out. So we try to get a stick and pull the snake out and get it out. Well, it takes off running back in under my car, sliding. I don't guess it technically runs, but it was sliding.
In your head, it's running with
running with everything flying, throwing fire out of its mouth and all kind of stuff. But it slides back up into my car, and we can't find where it went. Now, I'm sitting in the middle of a parking lot, so we know it didn't come out. You know,
Right.
we can see it if it comes out. So it didn't come out, and so we're trying to figure out how are we going to get this snake out of our car. So we're assuming it's still stuck in that fender well somewhere. So I go get some pepper spray, and I spray pepper spray down in the fender well to try to run the snake out, and that don't work. And I'm thinking, I can't spray too much of this because I can't use my air conditioner. If I turn my air conditioner on, it's going to suck all the pepper spray in the car. So we finally had the bright idea that we'd go get a fire extinguisher. And we run the fire extinguisher down in the car and tried to blow the snake out with the fire extinguisher. And by the time we got done, my entire car was white with fire extinguisher, whatever goes in that. I'm not even sure what it is, but it was white.
Yeah, I'm in tears right now. This is so funny.
And so we're painting my car with a fire extinguisher, trying to run the snake out, and we never do get it out. So I don't know where it went.
You drove over here with a snake in your car.
Well, one of my deputies volunteered to drive my car around for a while and see if it would come out. So he drove it around for 15, 20 minutes and stopped in different places and stuff and tried to get the snake out. So we're not sure whether it's still in the car, whether it slid out somewhere, fell out, dropped out. We don't know. But the only thing I know is this. If you as a citizen are out there and you see a blue Charger coming down the road, swerving all over the place, and somebody shooting inside the car, you know that the snake came out in the floorboard somewhere, because that's my biggest fear is to drive down the road and the snake come out in the floorboard. So if it does that, I tell you, we're going to have problems.
Last week's conversation was so timely. Could not have planned that any better.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
And in case anybody out there hadn't been listening to radio shows, I do not like snakes. I do not like to be around them.
Just for fun, one day I was thinking about getting one of those rubber snakes to put in the studio when the sheriff comes in here just to see what would happen, but I feared my life.
You might want to fear your life.
He carries a gun, and he does not like snakes.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to just drive around till we don't see a snake anymore. I don't know what happened.
I will definitely be thinking about you, Sheriff.
I did think about maybe taking it over to Brian White's or somewhere over there and have him put it up on a rack and just tell him I've got a rattle in my fender and could you take it off and see what's in there. But I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that to anybody. So.
Oh, that is my ribs are hurting. I've been laughing so much since the sheriff got here today. But I'm glad you shared that with us.
And I have nothing to talk about because that has just ruined my whole morning.
What time did this happen?
Probably about 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock?
Yeah. So we've been hunting snakes for 2 hours this morning. Actually, the FBI did come by and I had a meeting with him a little while ago, but I couldn't even concentrate on the meeting because of the thinking about the snake in my car. So,
that's been one of my biggest fears is having a snake in my car.
Right. Yeah. So I don't do snakes.
Yeah.
I don't like them.
I'm pretty much out of conversation now too.
Well, it's been a good show. See you next week.
It's been a great one. What's going to happen next week? I have no idea.
Know. Yeah, it has been, other than the snake in the car, it has been a pretty quiet week this week, though. We've not had just been kind of mundane routine. Matthew called me up and from the paper and wanted to know if we had anything special going on and said it's been kind of quiet. He got the arrest reports, didn't see anything special in it, and was wondering if we had cleaned up all the crime in Cherokee County, and I was hoping that was true, but unfortunately it's not true. But it has been pretty mundane, pretty quiet this week, and we're just kind of trudging right along. I did notice one of the things I was looking at before we had the snake incident this morning was looking at the breaking and enterings and trying to see where we're running in those for the county, and I did find that we are running about half of what we normally have right now. So. Breaking and enterings are down. Looks like larcenies are down.
And a lot of times this time of year, the breaking and enterings, you said, are normally increasing because people are coming back to their homes and discovering things that happened in the winter months.
And when I say they're down, I'm saying they're compared to last year at this time.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we still having them. They're still, unfortunately, homes are still getting broken into and people are still stealing things. But it's not quite happening at the frequency rate that has happened in years past. So that's good news. Good news for what's going on around us. And that we've took some of our major drug players out of the picture. So the drug activity, even though the drug users are always going to find it and always going to have it, it's kind of down a little bit right now. So we've kind of knocked a dent in it. And so things are good at this point, and we just hope we can keep continuing on that trend.
All right. Yeah. I just had to turn around to make sure I had not forgotten to hit the record button.
No, it's
on
recording.
Store.
Yeah, it's safe for posterity.
So. I want to listen to this one again.
Yeah. I think you'll go home tonight and listen to it in your sleep, won't you?
I will, yes. This is the most entertaining show I've done in a while.
He got for those of you who just don't know, Tim got way too much enjoyment out of that. He was holding his ribs laughing before we went on air. So
yeah, and that is a reality. People that are walking around in the forest or whatever to be cautious for snakes this year.
It is.
I mean, this is a black snake, which luckily is non-poisonous.
Yeah.
But he still doesn't like those.
But one thing about black snake, well, two things about black snakes is this. One is that I don't know that much about them, but I do know that people say that their bite does create an infection that's hard to overcome. They're not venomous, but their bite is a nasty bite. It creates an infection there. The other thing about black snakes is they're known to cause heart attacks,
especially while driving.
Right, especially while driving. So I'm just telling you right now, I am not responsible for my actions if he rolls out in the floorboard in front of me. So
I'm going to have to just follow you around the roads with a camera just to see what happens.
It's not going to be pretty. You're going to get calls on somebody crazy shooting a gun.
There's this crazy person driving the sheriff's car. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did have a pretty mild winter. So,
we did.
We're going to have some more insects population than normal, I'm guessing.
Right.
And maybe some more snakes than normal. So just be on the lookout for things if you're out in your barns or walking around, because I've stepped right on them before and not realizing that's a snake, and and then I jump about 20 feet backwards. I leap through the air.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of dangerous to be around snakes and me at the same time. So, but yeah, as far as things in the county, it's kind of hopefully we're on a good trend. We're on a good path. So
it is good to hear that things are a little quiet.
Right. Yeah.
You need those weeks.
We do.
And the county needs those weeks.
We do.
Where things are calm.
And one of the problems that we're still facing in the county, though, and it's a problem that we're seeing all over, and I quite don't know what the answer to it is. And I've discussed it with many different people. I've discussed it with ex-law enforcement people that's worked for many years in law enforcement. I've discussed it with judicial officials, psychologists. I've discussed it with everybody, trying to figure out what we can do. But this on the user end of this thing of people using drugs, we're finding more and more of just needles in random places. I know that Murphy Police Department has reported several times of stores, business owners in the city reporting, being at Ingles and finding needles on the shelf, or being at McDonald's and finding them in the seat, And it's not just Murphy, but Andrews reported the same thing, or businesses in the county have reported the same thing. And even on court days, we have a tremendous problem on court days with people coming in for court, bringing drugs or bringing needles, and finding them with needles in bathrooms and stuff for the courthouse. And so we're trying to take some precautionary measures, some preventative things, some extra searches and sweeps, and different techniques of searching people, of trying to find these things. But unfortunately, especially if you got a court day where you got two courts going on, you may have a family court going on in one courtroom, and may have a drug court going on in another courtroom, or superior court. You've got hundreds of people coming into that courthouse, and it's almost impossible to find everything coming through there. And unfortunately, people like to hide things in their body cavities. They like to hide things in their undergarments, and a lot of those things get by without getting caught, especially if they're small items. And so we're trying to take some precautionary measures and some different ways of searching, and some different building ground search techniques of trying to combat some of this stuff and find it. But it is so important that if you run across those things, if you see needles laying in the area, or see them even in a park or whatever, not to pick them up yourself, but to just monitor it and call and let the police come get those things, or sanitation, or somebody that's trained to come get those. Not everything that we find we're able to charge somebody with. Right. But we certainly don't want someone getting stuck with a dirty needle. And even those with caps on them, we sometimes you can get stuck through those caps. We had an officer here a while back. We've had several officers stuck this past year with needles, just in searching people. But we had an officer a while back that the suspect told him that they had a needle stuck in their pants, and he had them go ahead and retrieve it. They did, and the cap came off of it. Well, the suspect put the cap back on it, and then laid the needle down on the hood of the car. Mm-hmm. And when the officer went to pick the needle up, the needle had actually turned sideways and protruded out of the cap. Mm-hmm. And when he picked it up, it stuck you. And so, like I say, even if you see needles with caps on them, it's important not to mess with them, not to touch them. Or if you do, be very, very careful. Pick them up by the plunger end, not by the needle end. And to make sure that you get those done. We've actually tried to develop a policy and getting protective equipment from all of our officers now for puncture-resistant gloves and those type of things, to when they're searching people, they won't get punctured with these things.
Does a person have to have a prescription to get needles?
You do not. You can buy needles in drugstores.
Really? Okay.
And unless they've changed that recently. Mm-hmm. I know that for years you could buy those needles in drugstores, just in the packs, for diabetics and those things. And so just the possession of the needle is not illegal. You can be in possession of it. Where it's illegal is when you use it for drug use or other things, and it becomes paraphernalia at that point. But also, one thing about the paraphernalia laws that a lot of people don't realize about this either is, under the new paraphernalia laws, if we stop a vehicle and they have a smoking apparatus or spoons or needles or something in the car, if they tell us they have it, if they say, I have a needle, I have a smoking pipe, I have these things in the car, we can't charge possession of drug paraphernalia if they tell us that is that. Only way we can charge that if it's in conjunction with other things, like if there's drugs in the car. Mm-hmm. We could charge the drugs and charge paraphernalia in conjunction with the drugs. But you can't charge a paraphernalia charge alone by itself if they tell you they have it and where it's at. So that is a something the state did, and the DA's office is encouraging, so that people will tell you they have needles, so that you don't get stuck trying to find them. And so it's just an encouragement for there to be open and honest with you and say, yes, I have a needle in my pocket, or yes, there's one in the glove box, or yeah, I've got one stuck down in the seat. So the officers will know that, so they don't get their hands poked while they're searching for those things.
How dangerous can that be for an officer if they do get stuck with a dirty needle?
It can be very dangerous, depending on what diseases the person may have. You could contract a disease through that. Mm-hmm. Plus, there's other things as far as drugs itself. If they're using drugs with fentanyl in it, or say it's methamphetamine or heroin with fentanyl, just contact with the fentanyl could be enough to overdose a person. So it's very dangerous for the officer if they get stuck with a needle, because you never know what may contract out of that. If the person, what we try to do is, if an officer gets stuck, we try to get the person to consent to a blood work to see if they have any communicable diseases or what may be going on with that person. If they refuse to do that or we can't get that done, then the officer has to go through a series of shots and trainings and checkups, and it could last for a year or longer, if that officer keep continually having to go back and get checkups and things to get checked to make sure he didn't contract some type of disease out of that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think about what it does do down the road if someone does get, excuse me, I think you've
laughed too much.
My voice is going out, and from the pure laughter. And the funny thing is, yesterday I was thinking I had the scanner at my house turned on, and I heard someone call that there was a snake in someone's closet, and that the snake person was not available.
Right.
And I thought, I hope the sheriff has to go.
Well, you've jinxed me on this. I'm telling you, it's all your fault. I'm going to blame it on you anyway.
But but that was one of the scanner calls yesterday. A snake in a closet on Colville Road.
Right.
And I said, I'm so glad I'm not to law enforcement when I hear calls like that. But what do you do in that? Do people call quite often? And
not very often, but sometimes they do.
What can your office do?
We remove them a lot of times. We'll either kill the snake or remove it from the house. I don't know if I've ever shared this. I think I've shared this story before, but when I was a deputy, I got that same call one time, except it was in the middle of the night, and the dispatcher didn't tell me what I was going to. They just said animal complaint. So, in the middle of the night, you think a barking dog, something like that. And so I went to this house, and there was a little lady standing there, and when I asked her what the issue was, she told me she had a snake in her bedroom and had it hemmed up, but needed it out of there. And as I was walking in, I saw a hoe leaned up against the house, and I thought, that's fine. I'll just go in there, kill it, and get it out. And I got the hoe, and I started in the house, and when I started back there, she said, no, I don't want you to kill it. I want you just to get it out of here, just to catch it. She said, I don't, because it was a black snake, and most of the old-timers don't like for you to kill the black snakes because they'll kill other poisonous snakes and rat control and those type of things, So I thought, well, I'm big and strong. I'm a deputy. I can do this, And so I pinned the snake to the ground, and I got a hold of it and picked it up. And when I did, it wrapped around my arm, and you could feel it squeezing, as I'm squeezing my arm as I'm trying to get out of the house. And the only thing I was thinking is on my way out, I was thinking, Lord, if you can please help me get this snake unwrapped off my arm and get it gone before I get bit or have a heart attack, I will never pick up another snake. And so far to this day, I haven't. And that's been about 20 years ago. So to this day, I've never picked up another one since then. But to answer your question, that was a long story to answer your question. But to answer your question, from time to time, deputies do remove snakes from the house, or they will kill them and remove them and things of that nature. So
I did not really know that was in their job description.
We are here to protect and serve, so that's part of the service part of it.
Well, you do mention calls for animal complaints. What kind of volume of calls and what kind of issues people like with barking dogs? I know we share a lot of missing pets on our Facebook page, and so do the local rescues and the Humane Society.
I've not run a report recently on the animal complaints. I do know that I think last year in 2016, I think there was something like 65 or so animal complaints, I think, for the year. There was most of those was like dog bites and things of that nature. We do get a lot of calls in sporadic. It don't happen every day, but sporadically we get a lot of calls of nuisance dogs, barking dogs in the middle of the night, things of that nature. And those things are very hard to do anything about. We do have a noise ordinance that gives an effect after 10 p.m. But the way the ordinance is written, it's hard to convict anybody on the ordinance. We've not arrested, but charged several people. We normally do it by citation, and have charged several people a violation of the noise ordinance. But when it goes to court, the way the ordinance is written, it's hard for the district attorney to prosecute those type cases because it's so vague and a lot to argue within those ordinances. One of the things that the ordinance says is that it has to be of unusual manner. And one of the things the defense attorneys always go back to is what's unusual about a dog barking.
Right.
And so we have to be able to overcome those things to ever convict anybody, prosecute anybody for those. So it's hard to get anything done right now with those type of animal complaints. But I do know the commissioners have looked at, and they've called me, and we've had discussions about animal control and redoing the noise ordinance, and actually sat down with the county manager and went over some of the problems with the noise ordinance and the animal control ordinance, and some of the things that need to be changed in it to help us be able to be more effective in enforcing those things. And so I do know they're looking at those, and hopefully we'll make some changes pretty soon about that. But my encouragement is, and I like to preface what I'm about to say with this remark, is I don't encourage anybody to harass anybody or to or to do anything like that. But I do encourage people that if you would like to see animal control looked into further, and would like to see animal control officers in the county to utilize that and spend money for that, I do encourage you to contact your local commissioner, your local representative, and have a discussion with them about that as to what you would like to see and those type of things. And like I say, I'm not advocating, and I'm not asking people to harass your commissioners and to make their life miserable. But what I am saying is, if that is a concern or any other concern, you need to contact your commissioner and let them know that's as a citizen, that's what I would like to see, and I'd like to see money going toward this issue, because unfortunately, it doesn't matter what I want to do or what the county wants to do. It takes money to make the world go around, and the commissioners are in charge of the finances and the money and appropriate money for different places. So without money being there, without appropriations for that, it may be something we want to do, but we can't achieve it. We can't get it done.
What neighboring counties have animal control officers? I know Union County does.
Right. Macon County.
Macon County?
Macon County has animal control officers, and several of those North Georgia counties do. I think the only one, and I think Clay County may have a loose-knit animal control officer over there, but I know Macon County has a very successful animal control program, and Sheriff Holland actually told me one time when we were discussing it, I called over there and had a conversation with him about it, and Sheriff Holland actually said that once they instituted animal control and spent the money and got the vehicles and trained people and had officers to do that, that quickly became one of their number one calls for service within the county. What happens now is a lot of times people will have problems or issues, but they won't call because they know there's nothing you can do about it. And so they just deal with it however they can as neighbors, or just deal with it the best they can as a person. And but once Sheriff Holland said that became available and had resources and ordinances and those type of things, and things could be done about it, that quickly that became one of their number one calls for service in Macon County. So I don't suspect that would be any different here.
Right.
And but we have a lot of issues to deal with and to worry about, and animal control is just one of those issues on top of everything else. But if we don't voice our opinion and we don't talk to people about it, the powers that be, then nothing ever changes, nothing ever gets done.
Right.
So
and that's what the commissioners are there for, is to hear concerns and things that are going right, things that are going maybe need help or funding.
Right.
That's what they run for office for, is to hear the voice and to represent us. So but absolutely, I agree. Don't go and harass people, but it's always good to have just good conversation, dialogue, and say, here's what we need.
And with the commissioners doing, or actually Commissioner Eichenbaum, Dr. Dan, doing the town hall meetings and being out there, being accessible to people, I encourage people to go to those and express what you're seeing in your community. And when they go to these things, and like I say, I know that as a sheriff's office, we're doing what we can and doing the best we can do with what we have. But when the commissioners go and they hear, we're having a lot of breaking and enterings in our neighborhood, we're having a lot of drug issues in our neighborhood, we're having a lot of speeding vehicles or whatever it may be, that's going on in our neighborhood that's law enforcement related, or animal control, or having animal issues and those type of things. When they hear those things repeated over and over and over from different communities, then it gives them a better idea of knowing, okay, here's where we need to funnel our resources. Here's where we need to funnel our money to. And so, it just does nothing but help. And like I say, it's nothing. These town hall meetings is not designed to go in and scream and yell at the commissioners and fuss about all the things you don't like. But what it's about there is try to let them know what's happening in your community and what's going on there. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that.
As far as a breaking and entering standpoints, what are burglars looking for? What do they find as easy targets?
Well, they that causes the house to get broken into in the first place.
Yes.
One of the things is that we encourage people to do is to be sure to keep your homes well lit and yards groomed and manicured and things of that nature, because One of the things they're looking for is homes that either people are living there sporadically or vacation homes or rental homes or things of that nature where there's a good possibility there's nobody going to see them or nobody going to be there. And so if you let your yards grow up and bushes covering the windows and it's dark and those type of things, a lot of times these people break into these homes think, well, this would be a good house to break into because no one's home or no one's there. But if they pull up into a yard and it's well lit, cars in the driveway, there's toys in the yard where children's been playing, the yard's mowed, the windows are open where you can see in and out of. When they see those type of things, they think, well, somebody lives here and chances are somebody's going to be here, so we'll move on to somewhere else. And so, I just encourage people to make your home very presentable as that someone lives here.
I've also read, too, that if they hear noise like a radio or TV channel 25 playing,
yeah,
then it sounds like somebody may be home or even a dog barking.
Yeah, and that's true. If they come and knock on your door and there's no one there, but there's a radio in the background or a TV playing, it kind of puts on their mind, well, there may or may not be someone here. And even if they're pretty sure someone's not there, but there's a TV going, there's always that thought of, well, they could be in the shower or they may not hear me because of the TV, and so we'll move on to somewhere else. And so anything that brings noise with dogs barking and TVs playing and things of that nature, and automatic lights kicking on of the nighttime, anything like that is a deterrent to people. And I also encourage people, even if you don't have a surveillance system, even if you don't have cameras and you don't have an alarm on your house, which is very good to get, they're relatively inexpensive, so I encourage you to get one. But even if you don't want to do that, buy the signage. Get the stickers put on your windows and the signs in the yard, protected by ADT or whatever. And all those things are deterrents to keep people from breaking into your home. All
right, yeah. When I was talking about leaving the radio on, that kind of made me think of one of my... let's see, he wasn't my uncle. He's like a second cousin, but he lived up the road from us. And he used WKRK as a scarecrow out in his garden.
Right.
He just kept the radio played in full. You could hear the up and down the creek there, the WKRK playing all the time because he apparently, I didn't know how to feel about that, but we were his scarecrow in this big cornfield. But we can be used for multiple reasons there.
While we were sitting here on the radio, I had someone text me, a friend of mine, that said, I didn't know you were the great white snake handler. So, unfortunately, we are this morning. I'm sure that snake was white after the fire extinguisher got done.
You didn't park near my car, did you?
Well, I parked it here in the parking lot, so it may be up on the sidewalk by the time.
Okay. I just didn't want to do a transfer or anything like that.
Yeah. So all right. I'll sure let you have it. If it wants to come out, I'll let it come out.
All right. Well, Sheriff, I see our time is coming going quickly. Anything you want to talk about before we slither on out of here?
No, I tell you, as a sheriff's office, we just want to let people know, that we're not perfect. We make mistakes, as anybody does that tries to do anything. But we're doing the best we can. We're trucking right along, and our county seems to be in a good shape, and it just continues to get better. So I encourage anybody, if you see anything out there that needs to be reported, just call and report it.
All right, Sheriff, keep up the good work. We appreciate you and all of your staff over at the Sheriff's Office. Our time is 11:30. It's WKRK 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25 and worldwide at country.am. Stay tuned. Your weather forecast next, brought to you by Carpet Mart.